d'être présent à la présentation de Human Security. Je suis Vincent Meysonnet, je suis Solution Architect pour Human Security depuis environ 5 ans maintenant. Et donc, je vais vous présenter déjà un petit peu qui est Human, ce qu'on fait et un petit peu aussi au niveau de l'architecture. Et ensuite, mon collègue Joao, qui fait partie de notre équipe de recherche, du coup, qui est Satori, et qui aussi travaille sur la partie Threat Intelligence, va vous adresser quelques cas d'usage et quelques détections qu'on a pu avoir sur des utilisations d'IA, et notamment dans le cadre de cyberattaques. D'ailleurs, la première partie sera en français, la deuxième partie sera en anglais. Je le précise aussi. S'il y a besoin, je resterai à côté. Vous pouvez venir aussi nous parler sur le stand ou autre. S'il y a des choses qui n'étaient pas claires, on pourra expliquer avec plaisir. Du coup, Human Security, en fait, c'est une entreprise américaine avec environ entre 4 à 500 personnes dans la société, réparties à travers le monde. Le HQ qui est basé à New York. Et donc, voilà, on a aussi... dans l'entreprise, il y a Perimeter X aussi avec laquelle on a fusionné et on a racheté également Clean.io qui fait partie en fait de la même plateforme aujourd'hui. Au niveau des stats et ce qu'il faut savoir aussi au niveau d'Human, et c'est pour cette raison également qu'on vous parle, c'est qu'aujourd'hui on analyse plus de 20 000 milliards d'interactions numériques par semaine au travers justement de notre plateforme. Ce qui fait que justement pour la CTI, on a quelques niveaux de visibilité. Au niveau de la rapidité sur laquelle on le fait, on va prendre des décisions en moins de 3 millisecondes. Aujourd'hui, en fait, on va collecter plus de 2500 signaux techniques basés sur le réseau, basés sur le device et basés sur le comportement pour dire à quoi on a affaire justement. Est-ce qu'on est en face d'un humain? Est-ce qu'on est en face d'un robot? Est-ce qu'on est en face d'une IA? Ou d'ailleurs même d'un bon ou d'un mauvais robot? Et en fait, tout ça, on va le parser dans plus de 400 algorithmes qui vont nous permettre en fait d'en sortir des évidences techniques. Human, c'est également du coup une solution de sécurité qui va suivre tout le parcours client du début à la fin. C'est-à-dire que première chose en fait dont on s'occupe, c'est de tout ce qui est fraude publicitaire, avec également qui va embarquer du malvertising. Donc en fait, sûrement vous connaissez les bannières qui sont présentes lors de vos navigations sur Internet. Et bien en fait derrière, il y a des systèmes d'enchères qui se passent, avec justement des gens qui vont fournir du contenu, des gens qui vont fournir des emplacements. Et il y a des gens qui se glissent aussi dans cette chaîne pour justement commettre de la fraude, qui est estimée quand même à 100 milliards de dollars par an, donc qui est pas rien. Donc voilà, on s'occupe en fait de sécuriser toute cette partie-là. Mais au-delà de ça, on s'occupe également de tout ce qui est applicatif, de tout ce qui est compte et de tout ce qui est transaction. Donc c'est-à-dire qu'à partir de là, on va en fait analyser tout ce qui est script, par exemple les scripts first party ou les third party pour savoir s'il y a des vulnérabilités, s'il y a en fait des déviations de comportement, s'il y a de la formation personnelle qui peut fuiter. Ça correspond en fait à toute la phase de préparation d'une cyberattaque web. Ensuite, on va s'occuper aussi de tout ce qui est vraiment du bot management, mais vraiment de façon intelligente. Vous connaissez sûrement toutes les solutions de captcha, avec, on vous demande à cliquer sur des trottoirs, sur des palmiers, de déplacer des puzzles ou de remettre des titres, enfin des textes. Nous, en fait, on ne met rien en face des utilisateurs, mais on met tout en face des bots. En fait, on va demander aux bots de justifier qu'ils sont humains puisqu'ils veulent se faire passer pour des humains. Donc, en fait, on a une façon très intelligente et qui aussi, du coup, ne renvoie aucune réponse au niveau des attaquants. Ce qui fait que même les IA n'arrivent pas à s'adapter puisqu'elles n'ont aucune information à collecter pour adapter l'attaque et la recommencer. Donc c'est ça aussi le point fort. Et en fait, après, on va faire ça également dans les comptes utilisateurs, puisqu'en fait, on va faire du comportemental humain. Et pour aussi fournir une réponse de est-ce que vous avez le bon humain qui est connecté dans le bon compte? Et s'il n'y a pas justement de la prise de contrôle de compte, de la création de fonds compte, ce genre de choses-là qui peut opérer. Et en fait, toute cette chaîne, donc, qui va jusqu'à la page de checkout, sur la partie paiement, où on fournit aussi des compliance PCI DSS, et bien en fait, toute cette plateforme va communiquer entre elles. Ce qui fait que si on détecte des fuites de credentials, mais qu'également des robots font des tentatives de connexion sur page d'authentification avec des credentials qui sont compromis, et qu'il y a aussi des fuites liées à des scripts, on peut automatiquement justement enclencher des politiques de sécurité de prévention directement sur la partie compte pour éviter que la fraude arrive et qu'on soit obligé de faire du cashback ou ce genre d'action. Et du coup, comment ça fonctionne? C'est assez simple, en fait, c'est une architecture en 3 points. Donc le premier élément, en fait, c'est ce qu'on appelle un capteur ou un sensor. qu'on va déployer dans l'ensemble des headers HTTP, ou aussi on a du SDK pour les apps natives, voire on fait aussi de l'hybride, qui peut être déployé en first party, qui peut être déployé en third party, qui peut être déployé au travers d'un système de proxy, et ce qui fait qu'on va tout canaliser au travers de notre second élément, qui est ce qu'on appelle un enforcer, où là ça va être une brique de code, où on peut dire éventuellement un worker, si on parle en langage CDN, et là en fait on va s'intégrer justement au niveau de différents emplacements de l'architecture, soit au niveau d'un CDN, type Cloudflare, type Capgemini, type voilà, différents modèles, soit au niveau d'un load balancer, soit au niveau d'un web server, soit au niveau d'un reverse proxy, ce type de choses-là. On a plein d'intégrations, voire sur des plateformes d'IAM. Mais bref, en tout cas, c'est la seconde partie du code qu'on va intégrer, mais côté infrastructure. Ce qui fait qu'on a une première partie client, une première partie infrastructure, et la troisième partie, c'est le détecteur, on va dire, c'est notre plateforme SaaS, qui elle permet de fournir la partie intelligente. C'est elle qui va collecter les signaux, c'est elle qui va les analyser avec les différents algorithmes du coup qui y sont présents. Ce qui fait que quand en fait un visiteur arrive, du coup il va exécuter le JS qui va collecter plus de 2500 signaux techniques. Donc là aussi on a à la fois des mouvements de souris, on a des user agents, on a la stack par laquelle il est passé. Est-ce que c'est du device physique? Est-ce que c'est du device virtuel? Est-ce qu'il est passé par une IP résidentielle? Est-ce qu'il est passé par une IP de data center? Quel est son niveau de batterie? Tout un tas de choses comme ça, et qui sont liées également à son comportement. Bien sûr, à côté de ça, on ne collecte aucune information personnelle, pas besoin d'informations d'email, de mots de passe, etc. C'est que de la data technique anonymisée. Et donc, ça remonte sur le détecteur, et en fait ici, on va corréler ces éléments pour refaire descendre une réponse au niveau du visiteur en 3 millisecondes. Donc du coup, c'est assez rapide, il n'y a aucune latence au niveau du visiteur, et en fait là, on va lui faire redescendre un token d'accès, ainsi qu'un VID. Le VID, c'est notamment un ID de visiteur unique qui est généré par rapport à l'ensemble des métriques techniques qu'on aura corrélées précédemment. Et ça permet du coup de, dans un premier temps, le laisser passer si c'est un humain, et donc il peut consommer l'application et les services sans aucune friction. Par contre, si du coup on tombe sur de l'automatisation de l'IA du bot, et bien là en fait il va tomber sur un challenge qui est non résolvable par les robots, parce qu'il n'y a pas d'image, par ce qu'on appelle même les captcha solvers, pas d'image, pas de texte, pas de forme à résoudre, mais on a quand même mis un mécanisme visuel si au cas où il y a un faux positif et qu'un humain tombe dessus. En fait, pour lui, c'est juste un bouton à rester coché pendant quelques secondes. Mais derrière, en fait, il y a des algorithmes qui permettent d'identifier s'il y a aussi des mécanismes d'automatisation qui sont là pour essayer du coup, à résoudre ce challenge. Et là, dans ce cas-là, on lui remet, requête après requête, l'ensemble de ce mécanisme pour le bloquer. Et aussi autre chose qu'on a pu déjà identifier, d'ailleurs je crois que Joao en parle aussi après, c'est tout ce qui est navigation hybride. Par exemple, en fait, le genre de cas qu'on peut observer, c'est qu'en fait un humain va venir se connecter sur le frontal, passer les différents niveaux de sécurité, les différentes passerelles, et accéder à l'applicatif qui l'intéresse. À partir de là, une fois qu'il accède à ce qu'il a envie, il va lancer ses tools d'automatisation. Parce que du coup, il a déjà été trusté, il a déjà eu son token d'accès, il a déjà eu ses VID, etc. Cette architecture justement en triangle permet de suivre tout nouvel changement de comportement. Donc l'enforcer qui est ici va détecter ce changement de comportement pour renforcer et renvoyer du coup le message au détecteur qui va invalider directement son token d'accès pour que dès la requête suivante, en fait il tombe également sur le challenge. Donc voilà un petit peu comment on fonctionne aujourd'hui. Donc c'est agnostique par rapport à n'importe quel type d'infrastructure. Il n'y a pas besoin de router du trafic, il n'y a pas besoin de changer d'enregistrement DNS, ni quoi que ce soit de tout ça. Et du coup, je vais passer la main à mon collègue Joao qui vous parle un petit peu des différentes attaques liées aussi à de l'IA, mais justement qu'on peut voir émerger au travers de notre threat intelligence.
Thank you. So, my name is Joao. I'm the senior manager of the threat intel team, and my team engages any new threats, try to figure out how the attackers are leveraging vulnerabilities on our customers' sites, what new techniques are they doing, and to attempt to do any type of attribution. So who are the guys that are actually doing all of this? So through our work, the idea of the next few slides is just to give you kind of an overview on what are the new trends and techniques, specifically when it comes to AI and stuff like that, and definitely not to give you guys any crazy ideas on how to start your own AI-powered fraud systems, right? So I'll start, the focus of these slides will be mostly on retail and hospitality, but the ongoing theme that you guys will see throughout this is that it really doesn't matter the infrastructure. Some of the TTPs and the techniques that you guys use are transversal between all of these sectors, right? So we didn't have an agenda slide, but we have this. So throughout the presentation, and it'll be a couple of slides, I'm sorry, we'll go through how the actors organize in the dark web, their markets, some of the keywords that they use, how do they work, how do they monetize these attacks, so what does the scraping and the scalping lead to? So something we call denial of inventory, so they'll try to grab all the Pokemon cards, or dare I say it, Labubu dolls and stuff like that, and they'll go after these trendy, high-demand assets. What type of techniques do they use? Nowadays, we see an increasing trend in actual active exploitation of little quirks and vulnerabilities, not necessarily like, you know, super hacks or type of vulnerabilities, but little tricks that they use to kind of bring down the price of development. Through what means that they do these attacks and what tools that they use, right? So, how does this look from the perspective of retail and hospitality? So, although the products are completely different, yeah, we have on one side, the product is sneakers, Pokemon cards, whatever you want, actual physical objects, and you trying to create some artificial scarcity there by buying all the things and then scalping and selling it later. On the event side, they will go for trendy or high publicity events. So if there's a big football match, they'll try to reserve all the hotels. If there's a IT event in Lille, they'll try to drop some reviews to promote whatever product they want, or fish you guys, since I imagine there'll be a lot of system administrators here, so don't click any links. So they'll try to do this. But the transversal that we see is they both start with scraping, with gathering the data, and then they action upon that data. On the retail side, we see through scalping, where the bots are programmed to go out and purchase something, while on the hospitality, the bots will act on the similar data, but they're out to register accounts, push fake reviews, stuff like that. And the payoff, I mean, you guys understand what could that be. Yeah. So we'll start with a very easy, straightforward example. This was a recent case study that the team found. Essentially, through our platform, we were able to find quite an obvious attack going on. But the particularity here was that we were able to trace from the signals that we're collecting on our backend unique strings that led us to then track the guy back into the dark web, their Telegram channels and whatnot, and understand that they were actually using AI. It's not the cleverest way to use AI, but then again, it's like a point-to-point example that I think is interesting. So I imagine that all of you, when shopping online, have noticed that when looking at an item, you'll see a numeric ID, right? And if you go to the next page, maybe the number goes up, maybe the number goes down. So if you wanted to grab all the catalog, it's very straightforward, right? You really just have to count from 1 to 1,000,000. And what does that look like when you're defending or looking at the data? It's quite obvious that it's not a human, right? It's quite obvious that the difference between microseconds of currently incremental numbers is definitely something wrong going on here. And the most basic of bot detection or volumetric controls will actually catch on up to this. But prior to this attack, we see that the actor actually testing these tools and kind of leaked some particular strings that led us to find out who he was. But this was just the first stage. Later on, we put ourselves in the attacker's shoes. So what does he have? He has a predictable URL pattern. He knows that the exploit, the path that he wants, so he wants to steal all or scrape all the inventory from the platform. And he knows and has a basic understanding on how some of the anti-bot protection system used. So what we see next, and this is not only on this customer, but a lot of many others, is it will try to find vulnerabilities to kind of bypass the anti-bot control, right? these are based on volumetric, simple signals and stuff like that. So what this guy did is essentially understood that there was an automatic redirection that kind of hid his signature when scraping this. So instead of seeing those just incremental numbers going up and down, he essentially used AI to generate a bunch of strings that you can just randomly assort to these requests. And for other products, other security bot prevention products, this will just pass because essentially the user gets redirected from the other page. So the session kind of looks like it was a normal human navigating to the page. So this was one simple trick that he used. No, he did not use LLM to generate all the numbers from 1 to a million, otherwise there would be no water on the oceans. This is probably not the best way to leverage LLM or AI. I'll go through a couple of examples there. But this whole strategy managed to us kind of understanding how he was operating. I mentioned that we were able to trace him back to the underground or the dark web or whatever term you want to use. So when my team was dealing with these types of events, something that we do part of our methodology and thoroughness is try to understand who's behind this, what technologies are they using, is our product capturing all the signals that there are there to capture, are they using something new? So to that we have tools that actively monitor and track marketplaces of interest to us and our customers. And it allows us to give like a really cool overview of what's trending, what people are looking for and stuff like that. There's a bunch of places that you probably can just look out for yourself through Google, probably some Discord servers that you have to ask somebody to get invited to, but essentially we have an overview of all of that. And through this the data, we're able to then kind of track who the guy was and what he was doing. So this is just an example of specific markets that are targeting retail and hospitality sectors. And once you get access to these markets, sometimes through invitation, you start to get a sense of what the prices and the offerings of these markets. So the thing goes from hacked accounts, generated accounts. You can buy straight up data. You can actually buy modules for your bot if you're developing one, or you can just buy the whole solution for a couple of $100. And if you're a company that is targeted by this type of actors, it kind of gives you a really cool overview to understand how much what is the market cap for the dark web for your companies, right? Or how much people like paying to gain access or to attack you, right? So it's part of our engagement. It's something that we also track. It's also a really cool source of leads. So what you see there, the animation, is actually one of the advanced bots that we kind of reverse engineered. This operation was essentially orchestrated by two guys on a time before LLM vibe coding. So for the features that this packed, it was kind of impressive what we have here. So this is no longer the simple Python script that just launches Selenium or some type of automation tool. These guys had integrations with pretty much all capture solving services. It used advanced anti-fingerprinting systems that would mask the TLS handshake, which is one of the many signals that our company and other products use to try to fingerprint these automations. It had support for a variety of other services. If you wanted to create accounts, you could even plug in your phone to automatically receive the SMS and continue the registration process, so the whole thing was kind of automated. And most impressive of all, they essentially created an unauthorized programmatic interface to a bunch of websites. There we only have like UEFA and Union Berlin, but a series of other pages and domains. So if you wanted to just have a button to add items to a cart, they will already have you covered. On top of the complex, and they also have like licenses and stuff like that. So on top of the complexity of the code itself, the obfuscation, the implementation, and the use of novel techniques that these guys were doing, they also had a whole infrastructure behind it. So again, this is not particularly uncommon, but this is the stage that stuff was before, let's call it the AI revolution. Yeah. This is how how $200 would get you for botting and doing attacks on these platforms. So nowadays, everything's getting essentially a AI facelift. Kids no longer do CSS selectors. They can just use AI to parse the DOM for them. Doesn't matter how often you guys, a service changes the HTML layout of their page, the buy button will always be called the buy button. So if I can tell using an LLM agent to just say, click on the buy button will be there. I don't have to wait for JavaScript or soft challenges or something like that. I could just tell it. And that's some of the features that you're seeing there. A lot of it is to reduce complexity and lower the cost of development of these bots because they're very complex. Not gonna lie, there's a lot of bold marketing claims when it comes to AI and very loose terms of AI powered out there. But there are some offered legitimate offerings out there. So here we have AI parsing being used mostly for retail on the left, right, over there. It's an automated platform. This guy was announcing an automated platform which would serve phishing and scam listings, an automated way to process those scam listings and phishing them. And so when the user got scammed out of their money, they will have an LLM to kind of like profile the user and tell them, kind of like, it's not literally pig butchering, but it will be like trying to get them hooked while they run away with the money, so they didn't raise many alarms. And this whole process will be automated, so you don't need 50 people managing your phishing campaign. You can just have one LLM with N8N. You could have used a more easily pronounceable name. But yeah, very agentic, all very modern. And we're talking just about software. Hardware itself is now being, not hardware, but like hardware adjacent, is also, I forgot to take the audio, but it's actually going to end up somewhere. Anyhow, we've all seen the images of the click farm with, there's one person with a wall of 1,000 phones and they're like manually clicking on them. The evolution that we see on these platforms is from there, now there's one person managing 1,000 phones, and now there's one person managing 1,000,000 phones with the help of some of these automation tools that you guys can see here. And the new features with AI that we're seeing, and all of this is the prices for these devices keep going down and down. So now for $700, you can essentially buy a rack for 128, yeah, 128. And you don't even need to program these devices individually. You can just tell AI to just, hey, go on YouTube, search for human security, like and subscribe. And you don't have to write ADB shell commands or record your session, and then if the application crashes, you kind of lose one device altogether. This is the new offerings that we're seeing, but on even for the legacy, let's call it that way, click farms that are out there. But very importantly, all of this is powered by residential proxies. In case you guys don't know, residential proxies are a service that essentially serves as an anonymity, I probably mispronounced that, but let's pretend I didn't, service for your requests. So if you want to book or buy a ticket here in Lille, but your data center is in the US, you can use this service and click, I want an IP from France, the city of Lille, and I want it to be a mobile IP address. So when you guys are defending your services and you're trying to protect yourself against this, you essentially see a clean IP with best reputation ever. If even it's a local, it's using a mobile phone, so based on IP reputation alone, you should be kind of okay with this. But yeah, these services kind of like cater to this automated or programmatic web. There's several well-established companies out there that their products are actually, as you can see, like Oxy Labs, the top tab is proxies and scraping solutions. So it's definitely catering at them. Moreover, the pricing on this is around like €5 per gigabyte. So you watch 2 YouTube videos and you're done, right? So this is meant for just requests, scraping, kind of an automated headless browsing. I think that I need to say before we go on, we separate these into 2 categories, right? There's the ethically sourced residential proxies and the less ethical residential proxy, which is the ones I'm going to continue on the slides. So both Oxylabs and Bright Data, those are established companies. They have offices, they have real LinkedIns and stuff like that. So we know that companies like this will, to gather residential IPs, they'll have deals with ISPs, they have contracts, their SDKs provide proper consent forms to the users and all of that. What I want to talk about, it's the actual unethical ones. This is something that myself and the team are actually work quite a lot on, and we keep improving our product to protect it against these. So a year ago, 2 maybe, forgot when it was, we researched into some VPN applications that were present on the Play Store that kind of advertised themselves as free VPNs. And when you installed it, well, the VPN worked amazingly. It was actually really good service, to be honest. Good speeds. So you install the app, it works, nice. So now I have VPN and I can watch Netflix from whatever country. But ironically, what would happen is they would secretly contact a C2 server and turn your device into a VPN. So it would have a hidden service, we named it, so that library over there would essentially is very well hidden, and I'll go a little bit into that in the further slides. It was very well hidden and would establish a connection with these residential proxy servers, and it was essentially selling your IP address to anyone who can buy it. The price here was $3 a gigabyte, and that's how one of the ways that these unethical sourced residential proxy servers kind of hook some people on, because it's normally way cheaper. But the unique perspective from our research here was the fact that we're probably the only ones at the time that managed to do the whole pinpoint from the malware, where it's being distributed, and who was profiting from them. So kind of advise you guys, like, take a look at it and on our blog, and read our blog, and the only conclusion you're going to get there is residential proxy is bad, and there's no such thing as a free lunch. So these applications look normally, again, no initial things that you could pick on that probably were suspicious, other than there is no free lunch. We were reporting these applications with Google. We worked really closely with them. So we were sharing all our IOCs with them. So there was a time where we were playing cat and mouse game, and it was a lot of fun for me in the office, where we were trying to catch them and they don't come up with a new trick, and so and so. So at one point, they started to render consent forms, but again, that's also an issue, because this is the consent form that not only this thread, but many threads show to the user, which is a button that says, I consent to the use of traffic. Good. That's literally what is happening. It's not. You're essentially consenting to use your phone as a VPN, and any crime that is committed through your phone is going to look like it's you doing. So, yeah. Other fun stuff was that they're the place where they sell the SDK also have a button to share with friends, which I loved. Essentially, you would upload any APK that you have, and it would automatically backdoor it, and you can share it with your friends. Another red flag on these guys was they were promoting the SDK on the black market. This was one of the users that we were tracking. He's essentially on XSS forums, which is a very popular one for hacking and all sorts of bad stuff. And yeah, so if you're running, you want to figure out if your device is compromised or not, try to run a network capture, and if your phone while idle is checking what's your IP address, it's very likely infected with a residential proxy. So I said this was a lot of fun, reverse engineering, and it was. These guys invest a lot of time into obfuscating this code and trying to pull tricks not to be detected and be pulled from the Play Store. They would have the code, the initial code, obfuscated on the Android side, which then load a Golang binary, which is just amazing to reverse engineer, which is not, which is also obfuscated. And after you analyze all of that, when you're trying to figure out where's the C2 domain that is being using, you just get prompted with essentially the princesses in another castle. So after you manage to decrypt and try to figure out how the key derivation works on a file, you still don't have the actual ciphertext. Where is it? So we noticed that the binary had a very odd implementation of an API to go to the blockchain and get stuff. That was clever. What was not clever is they used their own crypto address for the next steps. So if you go to one of these addresses, you essentially can see all the transactions and get an idea on how much money they're making out of this, FYI. But yeah, they will go to the blockchain, get a transaction. They will have a particular transaction that had a node on it. That node would be used as part of the parameters to derive the key. And only through that, when you put everything through the code, you're finally managing to get to the C2. This was a lot of fun for me. I know probably you guys think I'm a weirdo, but it was essentially just playing CTF on work. But what this shows is the level of investment that these guys are putting into these apps. The obfuscation, these techniques take time to do, and they take money to push and create accounts into the Play Store. So there is a return on investment. They make a lot of money out of this. Another hint on that way was our recent investigation on Badbox. This was a major botnet that we disrupted, over 2 million devices. So the conclusion we can get all reading our stuff is that if you're going to buy any white label device out of China, it's very likely that it's going to come with a surprise. And the surprise will be a backdoor that will essentially transform your device as a malware service. So some of the devices are already rooted, but some of them we have to find clever ways to get shell on them. But once we reverse and able to extract the actual payload, we see the backdoor essentially contacting a C2, turning your device into a fraud platform, right? They will have modules for all sorts of stuff, fake account creation, well, residential proxy was the big one. That was one of them. And we also found a major one on ad fraud, kind of transform your device into automated clicker and browser of ads and stuff like that. So yeah, they make a lot of money out of this. And when you're doing defense and basing on IP reputation, you also have to take in consideration that the IP might not be as reputable as you think, and there's all the data that can be extracted from the way that these networks operate that can help you detect what it is, right? When you understand how the proxy and how the connections are made, maybe you can get through their actual signatures, right? Be it from TLS timings, from the way that the connection is made, or some other parameters, crazy others that go there, not to stinge them out. So, going back into the AI theme, residential proxies, the whole market essentially sustains a lot of different AI fraud campaigns. One of them, and I think this will be the most predictable way of an attacker to use LLM and generative AI to make some money, is just by creating fake listings, right? I mentioned that there was a lot of campaigns on creating essentially attaching themselves to big events, popular events to scam users. And this is pretty much the way they do it. You just create a prompt for generate a good-looking room and just grab some content there that can be used to trick the users. This might seem like a minor threat where it comes to, well, just scamming the users, probably not scamming all of them. There are probably some of these services will have dedicated teams who are like cross-checking this. But the threat itself goes a little bit deeper. We've found out, and we understand when talking with our customers, that a lot of these listings are actually money laundering schemes where they would create a listing there, they will get somebody of their friends to pay for it, and when they get to the bank account, it just has an extract for hotels like XYZ or something like that. So this is a very straightforward way to scam through AI listings. but you need to also remember that all of this is being perpetrated using residential proxies and the tools that we've been talking about, right? A similar approach for this is through the botnets and the market that existed for fake AI comments on YouTube videos. I'm sure you guys already know that, fake streaming and stuff like that. These guys are not waiting around, waiting for their accounts to be purged. They're now redirecting all their inventory to essentially assist into attacking retail and hospitality. So just because they're not pushing videos or comments onto videos, they're using it to do other types of frauds out there. If they were using to create fake accounts through them, through these networks, they may try to do account takeover where they will use the same bots, the same networks, the same residential products, the same infrastructure to create fake accounts, maintain their inventory. And when they use account takeover for these techniques, they often also in the background try to kind of like do fraud with the points and buy stuff out and then return it or cancel it and then cash out the points. And then they sell these accounts online for extra profit. So it's a market that is always trying to monetize itself. It's feeding itself, and it's important that you're able to block them at the source and try to understand what techniques are they using, so you can break the supply chain essentially. Right? So the transition that we're seeing from like legacy to AI powered, it's now the attackers are playing a higher role when it comes to generating the content. They no longer use low quality ads or stuff like that. They're leveraging the AI to generate all of this. They're faking the whole transaction, and instead of trying to scam the users, they're trying to defraud the platforms, being through YouTube with just flop video, or being through creating fake reviews on websites and stuff like that. One of the cool tools that they use to do this is Money Printer Turbo, which essentially kind of like pipelines the whole thing for you. You don't want Money Printer, you want Money Printer Turbo. That's a good one. And essentially just, you say, make me an ad for selling footwear, I don't know. And we essentially create the whole process for you guys, and you just have to kind of, post it. And we'll track it. Whole 9 yards if you want. I'm not suggesting you should, but it's part of the ecosystem. It's something we're tracking as well. So where I'm going with this is really the part more into the slop part of the AI, where actors are essentially leveraging again the same infrastructure, the same bots, but powering them with AI to create more convincing fake reviews, more convincing text to drive traffic to their own stuff. So if you want to grab that prompt, write 10 different reviews, each from different nationality, all saying in different ways that cloud, north, retail, and hospitality presentation was the feel free to use that. And yeah, obviously, I mean, if you guys use the LLMs anytime this year, you'll probably see that this is very easy to kind of leverage. But it does seem a bit silly. It does seem that it's low impact, but it isn't. The actors really make a lot of money out of this. Not only because you don't just need to kind of just throw in the prompt into ChatGPT, you need the whole infrastructure, the whole ecosystem. So with that rises one of these entities called the ORMs. They exist in the past, but nowadays they're leveraging more and more AI itself. And they still charge a premium for it. But the idea here is to scam not only on retail, but also on hospitality. They'll create fake reviews, they'll create fake products, they'll create fake entities. Whatever is your brand, whether you're selling legitimate physical stuff or not, they'll handle that for you. And they'll do it at a premium. Although they seem to have a legit front when it comes to the web presence and the domains, they kind of just look like your generic corpo site. On the background, you see that the same entity, the same actors that we are able to trace through open source intelligence is actually promoting their product on black hat forums, on sketchy boards and stuff like that. So the customers are bad actors, essentially. And good evidence of this, just recently, I don't know if you guys know Linus Tech Tips, showcased exactly this. So it's a two-day-old video where they talk about some low-quality product which is simply being sold online. And when you go to search for reviews on it, you get like 2 fake domains, all fake reviews, and all of this is powered to AI. These are the same entities that are enabling this online reputation management. So when you kind of like, and this is a screenshot from their video too, so if you search for the product online, you essentially get redirected to these scam sites and they essentially scam the user. Obviously this can be done for any type of product or any type of service, on retail, on hospitality. Again, it's something that we see these actors leveraging. Although we cannot block them from creating new domains or websites, but our product can protect from these fake reviews because we block at the agent level the tools that they're using and the methodology that they're using. So how does this look in code, actually? So recently we saw KitaBot. This was an example of in the wild script that was being shared amongst attackers. You should read it, check online. This was a research by Sentinel-1, I believe. A cool write-up. Our team was also researching this because it was brought up by one of our customers. We were able to get essentially a similar sample that they did, and we understood how they were working, right? This will be the prompt that they were using. They essentially give it a list of URLs. They have a neat little UI if you want. And yeah, just give it the URLs you want to have your product published, and it will automatically just browse the website, see where the comment section is, and just post whatever text you want, which was adequate, tailored to the domain that you were putting there, right? But why does it matter for our team and for our product that we do this? So when we reverse engineer the code, or, well, it's Python, so it's not really that much reverse engineering, you can just read it, and I advise you guys to read it so you can get a sense on how these tools work. When you look into it, in reality, the code itself is using technologies that we're already aware of, and there are product already blocks. Although they're empowering this with AI to lower down the cost of complexity on these attacks, in a sense, they're still using the same tools that we track. The stack that they're using is not innovative, it's something that we can still fingerprint quite well. Another recent investigation that we did that was also AI-powered fraud. This one was actually quite complex. We just recently published on this one. So the attackers essentially had a whole pipeline when it came to creating and promoting their applications. So they would use their own trained models to generate videos. They were running this NVIDIA out of China. And they would train the models to essentially create the video, the ads, and they will have a complete pipeline to then grab the video and the images that were generated, put it in formats that they can publish to ad domains, and have that automatically being pushed into ads on other popular applications. All of that pipeline was automated through LLMs and AI agents. We were able to get an insight on what the AI tools they were using, and we even found their AI friend, which could have led to different types of ransomware attacks. But yeah, jokes aside, this was a very complex piece of malware. The way that they designed it was that only if you install the application through the ad, through the AI-generated ad, would the malware actually trigger. So what they were trying here was trying to avoid those pesky reverse engineers from grabbing the malware module and reversing and tattletale on Google that would again then get their apps removed. They generated a ton of traffic out of this and definitely make a lot of money. But yeah, after looking at the applications, we were able to essentially figure out the model, pinpoint who was attributing to this, who was making money, and essentially block the whole thing on our platform before it was even widely known. The obfuscation techniques that they used was quite clever, starting with the fact that they would only install the malware if they could attribute it to you clicking on the ad. On top of that, and don't stare at these images too long, they would do steganography to essentially hide the malware module. So if you put all of these images together, do a little bit of bit carving, inside of there will be the actual ad fraud module that would automate the whole thing. Yeah, on top of that, they use encrypted communication with a lot of the stuff that they own. So I don't know if I still have some minutes, but I think I can go like real quick.
I think 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay, so it's enough. So through all the presentation, we show that even though things are AI-powered nowadays, the basis and the way that they deliver this AI-generated content is still the same. And tools like our product and other solutions can still rely on data that we get from reverse engineering, from threat intel, from research to block these bots regardless of whatever is driving their content, right? So I just wanted to kind of go quickly through, I wanted to kind of make it more live, but Wi-Fi and stuff like that probably didn't work so much. So imagine that you guys bought the student version of human product, and you're looking at some suspicious activity in your dashboard. So looking at the data here, the mouse movement, the click heat map, and the session details, bot or human? It's a human, yeah. So why is that? You can see that the movement is fairly organic. There's a lot of data points being collected, so the mouse is moving. The click map is all over the place. The IP address, the call is coming from inside the house. User agents, fingerprint, the whole thing kind of seems very, very legit, right? What about this one? Yeah, clicks, no mouse movements. The IP addresses, each one of them has one request. So this is clearly a bot, but can you guys tell which type of bot is this? Is this an advanced bot, simple bot? Simple, yeah. So no mouse movements, you don't have any user agents, no GPU, no canvas fingerprinting, so no JavaScript, no nothing like that. This is very likely just a Python script. And it was, so robot. What about this one? So here we have a little bit more details, but a couple of things kind of like pop up. Again, we have the GPU manufacturer, which is using kind of like a suspicious, I mean, we've heard about AMD and NVIDIA, but not Angle, so it's a virtualized GPU. And if you look at the clicks and mouse movements, they're like 1 to 1, right? Not 1 to 2, right? So do a little bit more testing at the client level, and you find that some of the checks kind of false. So this was actually Selenium-based bot. You just program it to move the mouse around a little bit, but again, the mouse movements are very unnatural. So yeah, robot. What about this one? Bot or human? Bot, yeah. Why? Well, the mouse moves are all over the place. The guy is definitely having a seizure. Plus, on top of that, we see that the user agent now, although it's legit, it kind of announces itself as headless Chrome. This is either a very new guy or somebody's using kind of like corporate tools. On top of that, if you look at the IP addresses, these are from data center IP addresses, very well-known data center IP addresses. And again, we see the same virtualized GPU manufacturer. This was actually the signature that we collected for ChatGPT operator. So we told them to move the mouse around, click 10 times on something, and there you go. Robot. This one. Although it looks pretty much like the simple one, this was actually it's either a human or somebody that's really good at StarCraft, because the coordinates is always clicking the same one. Although we gave the same prompt to this one, to Manus, it made it like a way worse result. But the key marking here is the fact that we see the total kicks is equal to the total mouse movements. Again, we have the same IP address signals and the same most suspicious GPU manufacturer. There's way more signals that we're collecting out of these AI agents. that we're able to catalog and make sure that our customers kind of filter out which agents are allowed in their system. But essentially, yeah, this is another robot. So recommendations, again, what I've been talking about is, although we're going through AI revolution, something like that, the techniques and tools that these guys are using to drive their fraud is still something that we can fingerprint and collect. It's something that we can use deep analysis on anomalies, on the session fingerprints, browser, and all of that. And it's something that we can detect collectively, meaning that even our one customer is seeing some type of traffic, maybe the signals that they're collecting on that traffic is also seen on another customer, which is the way that our product kind of works, and essentially all the InfoSec community works as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope none of you start their own AI fraud business. I don't know, questions or anything? Done for now.
I don't know if we have time here.
Merci beaucoup, on peut l'applaudir déjà.